Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 299 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today, I welcomed another part 2 episode guest, someone I had on the podcast back at the end of 2024, artist, DJ, Orlando-based individual, SoundTec, someone that I've been, in touch with on and off for the last year and a half. And we're actually still working on some music together, which I'm excited for that to come out this year. We got to talk about some of that music that SoundTec has been working on, a solo album that's set to release in September, and also several other collaborative projects that he is very excited for to be putting out real soon. And primarily, we got to discuss what he's been up to over the last year and a half, getting married, dealing with health issues. He talked about that and really just how he's been able to navigate that in a healthy way, but how his partner helped him along the way and has been helping him along the way. And it just sounds like he is in a place where he is surrounded by a lot of love and support from the people around him, which I think is super important. And he talked about being able to kind of slow down the last several months, enjoy life more, while still being creative, while still working on the music and setting big goals for the year and all that good stuff. So it was just great to finally get to chat with him again in this type of setting. Like I said, most of our convos have been through DMs recently, talking about the music we're working on. But it was great to kind of change it up and get to hear how he's been through a real conversation once more. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy this one. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this is episode 299, another part 2 episode, back-to-back weeks now. And someone we had on in 2024, the end of 2024 initially. And me and him have talked off and on here the last year or so. We're working on some music as well. Very excited to have SoundTec back. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Anthony. Really excited to be back. Appreciate the opportunity to jump on the show.
Yeah, and I'm excited to catch up because I know, like I said, we've been talking off and on here and there. But I know you've been a very busy guy the last year or so, for sure. So I guess I want to start with saying congratulations on getting married in the fall. So that's pretty awesome, man.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, definitely have been busy. I definitely stay busy. I live a very full but blessed life. I think it's a blessing to be busy and have so much going on. But I'm really grateful. And I got married in October to my best friend, my partner, the one who's always there for me. So it's really, really cool just to be building a life.
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess I want to start there because I guess I would ask, as someone who's not married, so I don't have any experience in this realm, but how has it been different since you've been married as a creative, trying to balance work, creativity, personal life, all that stuff? How has that changed, if at all? And how have you been managing that?
Yeah, it's I'll just start off and say it's been really great, overall. Had the wedding of our dreams, really grateful to spend it with our closest friends, closest family, and just feeling surrounded by love and, being there to love one another. And really marriage has been, a lot of the same intimacy and bond that was there, but I feel like it's been strengthened to a whole new level. There's just a whole new level of excitement and commitment that comes with it all. And it's just, really fun and adventurous to just take that next chapter with somebody. It's been really, really cool. And in the world of being creative and balancing everything else in life, it's come at, a really great timing. Life throws a lot of curveballs, and I've had some, health challenges and whatnot come my way that were unexpected. And it's been, a really big blessing to have someone, there with me through all of it, through the mental health challenges, through the physical health challenges, and vice versa, to know that no matter what comes our way, I've got someone's back like that too.
Yeah, it's great to have that support there when you need it the most, which is super vital. And I know, because you mentioned to me about, the health issues you had as well. And I don't know how much you want to talk on that in this episode, but if you feel comfortable sharing anything, what was that? What did that entail? And I guess, how have you been kind of getting through that in the best way possible?
Yeah, I'm happy to share, kind of a basic, overview of what's been going on, because there may or may not be listeners who can relate. And, I've found people who can relate to my circumstance, which helps it feel, I don't know if easier is the word, but there's just a little bit of assurance knowing that someone else might be taking on the same challenges. I found out, back in late October, not long after our wedding and honeymoon, of all times, that I'm epileptic. It came on later in life. It's not really something that I had challenges with in life, but found that out later, unfortunately had a series of seizures kind of start coming on, and have been learning, what my triggers are, because that looks different for everyone who experiences epilepsy. So that's just been a new challenge. It's kind of changed my everyday. It's changed a little bit of kind of what my lifestyle looks like, but in a lot of ways, it's been a blessing in disguise. I'm someone we both said, I stay really busy, and I feel like this was a way, however you look at it, whether it was the universe, God, or just divine timing, I'm kind of being almost forced to slow down and take a different pace, take a different perspective, and just kind of recalibrate where I am in life. Yeah. And it's been hard in some ways, but it's been good in a lot of other ways.
Yeah, I think that's vital to have shifts every now and then as well in how you're approaching your day-to-day life. So I guess for you, I would say, I'm happy that you've been able to figure out ways to get through that and navigate that in the right way, which is super, super cool to hear. And as far as live performing, doing all that sort of thing, I know you were still doing DJ sets locally and things like that. Has that changed at all as well in the last few months based on what's been going on?
Yeah, it certainly has. For a little over 2 years, I've done, a multitude of events, but I consistently hosted a monthly, hip hop open mic, open cypher, and just kind of, more of a community event for people to gather and, just kind of share over like minds. At a really, really great venue here in Orlando. Shout out Binks. They're a recording studio, record store, coffee shop, just kind of all under one roof, a really great space for creatives to, collaborate. And also they offer a, small performance venue, which is really great too. And I took a back step from that not long before my wedding, just because, I was gearing up for that, had a lot of other things going on. And with the health challenges, I have not, stepped back on the stage since. Mm-hmm. With that said, I'm excited to be coming back in spring, kind of revamping the open mic event, giving it, a little bit of a shift, a little bit of a glow up, if you will, just adding some different nuances to it and just changing some of the details that I think will make it more accessible to a lot more people in the area. Yeah. But with that said, although I've taken a little bit of a step back from the live performances, I've had a lot more time to work on some of my own projects, to work on some collaborative projects, and a lot of stuff that's been in the works for multiple years. I've had the time to really kind of push it over the finish line, which has been really great.
Wanted to take a quick minute out of today's episode to let you guys know of a way that you can support the show, a way that you can donate some funds to us, starting at as little as $5 or more via our Ko-fi page. Now, we've been using Ko-fi now for a few years, and it's been a very effective way to generate some funds that we end up using for, future guests, sponsors, just an overall way to keep this show as quality as it has been for the last several years, and we always appreciate any and all contributions. So if you go to ko-fi.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, that's ko-fi.com/The Proven Knowledge Podcast, you can donate, like I said, $5 or more. It gives you that option to do 10, 20, 30, or just type in whatever amount. Any contributions are appreciated, and I do this show from the bottom of my heart for the love of it. At the end of the day, but those funds are always welcome because they do allow us to do more and be more flexible with how we continue to grow this platform in the future. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. The link will be in the description of the show notes of this episode you're listening to now, so definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's get back into the episode. And that kind of transitions very well, because I guess I kind of want to dive into some of those projects and what can we expect first. Because if you're working on multiple projects, I would love to know what is kind of the rollout plan that you have in mind for, what we're going to be getting first and what we're going to be getting throughout the course of this year.
Yeah, I'm happy to share a little bit of a brief overview. I actually have not made, an official announcement anywhere else of kind of what we're looking at. But I will say this, in a couple weeks from when we're recording this, February 17th of 2026, a good friend of mine is dropping a full-length album of his own. That's an alternative hip-hop genre blending experience. And I am really grateful to have a feature verse on that project. And it's something a little different than some of the other music I currently have out. It's a bit more introspective and just evaluating, some of life's challenges and kind of mental health, internally, and just kind of lending a vulnerable perspective through the music. So listeners can expect to hear me on that first. Like I said, things that have been in the works for multiple years. It's recorded a few years back, but it's finally seen the light of day this February. Mm-hmm. I have 3 collaborative EPs with some friends of mine, all individual projects. And I'll say this, they all are more than half-baked. There's demos for every track. It's just kind of some final, linking up for studio time, linking up for, the mixing and mastering on others. But listeners can expect to hear 2 to 3 collaborative projects from me this year. And I will say I am dropping a full-length album in September of this year. So that I am very, very excited about. That has been a solo project of mine. A little more than 5 years in the making, but I have the joke that it's been the entire, span of my life in the making. It's all of my life experience, packaged into a project. Yeah. So lots of music, and who knows, there might be stuff that comes up along the way. Who's to say?
Lots of very exciting things in the works, so that's great to hear. And as far as the solo album, let's just touch on that for a minute too, because you said it has a lot of different stories that aren't just about the last few years, but about your whole kind of life in a snapshot. So I guess, without revealing everything, what do you think you want people to take away most when they finally get to hear that project? What do you think you want to leave people with after a first listen or just after they get to experience it?
I think I'll leave people with this, that, time is a really funny concept. We can be learning life lessons from the past, in our present, and well into the future. And, there's all kinds of things that'll come our way, experiences, relationships, and whatnot. And the ultimate lesson, I would say, through all of that is it's not always about the destination. It's more about, what happens along the way. And the most important thing from that is be yourself, express yourself, and strive to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Really enjoying the journey, because I think a lot of people always focus on the destination, but they don't focus on what it takes to get to that point, which I think is very important. Even outside of music, what do you think you've been doing recently? Because like you said, you're very busy. You obviously have a lot going on. But when you do have free time, what have you been doing recently to kind of recharge, refuel, all that good stuff? Any new hobbies or anything that you've been doing lately?
Outside of music, I've just been, I like to consider myself a man who enjoys many avenues of life. I have a lot of hobbies. I've had a lot of hobbies. I have a lot of interests outside of music and all things that I think help shape the music. But I've just been taking it a lot slower lately. I've been enjoying being home, hanging out with my dog more, hanging out with, my loved ones and my wife, my friends. I've been reading, more regularly. I have been, guilty pleasure, watching some TV shows and some good movies lately too. And with the cold weather, enjoying like bonfires with friends and just taking that slow pace of life. I did, at the tail end of 2025, buy myself a micro skiff, a small boat, and have just been going on some aquatic adventures, caught some nice fish. So when I have the time and the conditions are right, I guess that's something relatively new. I've grown up a Floridian. I've loved being on boats and being on the water and fishing my whole life, but finally made the leap and got myself my own boat. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. Are you doing like lake expeditions or ocean? Like where are you taking the boat to?
So far I've only taken it in the river, and I've taken it out in a couple different lakes.
Nice.
It's more of like a small calm water type vessel, but I mean, you could take her out in the salt water on like a calm day and, the right conditions for sure.
Yeah. See, this is where the relatability ends, because I'm like, I could never do that here. I'm looking at snow right now out my window, and I'm like, wow, people actually can just take boats out on the water at most times of the year, which obviously, like we said before we started recording, you can't really do that right now because it's still pretty cold. But
yeah, I could get out there, just might have to bundle up a little bit. That's pretty much the only drawback. And you don't want to get in the water unless you got a wetsuit on, because it'll be pretty cold too.
You'd be freezing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, congrats on that, man. Congrats on all that. Not just the boat, but just everything. Because I think there's almost like a hidden amount of peace in being able to slow down and being able to just enjoy the time you have with the people around you. While still being able to do, your creative activities, your creative endeavors as well. So I think that is something to definitely be proud of at the end of the day. And I guess, about a quarter of the way, by the time this episode drops, we'll be like a quarter of the way into the year 2026. So I guess for you, what do you think you want to leave this year with when it's all said and done? Because let's say you drop these projects, you have other things coming out, other things in the works. When it's all said and done for this year, what do you think the big goals are, and how do you think you're going to achieve those?
Yeah, definitely I have a lot of goals for this year, and I'm someone who likes to stay ambitious and have things, kind of on the docket and goals to strive for. Biggest thing is putting out a lot of this music that, is well in the works and just kind of ready for people to hear it. And, the kind of artistic expression that comes with that, I'm really, excited to be working towards my solo album. I'm planning to do a vinyl rollout with that, some merch, and, everything willing, and as long as health allows me, I would like to do, a small tour, even just something in the Florida area, but just kind of get out there, maybe reach some new fans, and really just grind to make sure the music gets out there to the people and to the ones who need to hear it.
Yeah. You answered my question about vinyl, because I was very curious about that, because I know you did the vinyl release a few years ago that went
Yes.
very well. So, yeah, that's exciting. Definitely be looking forward to that. And I guess, is there anything else you want to let people know about, either things you're working on or just in general, before we wrap it up here?
I will say this one to whoever may be listening. Thank you for tapping in. Thank you for tapping into the homie Anthony Church. Go check out his beats. Check me out on all streaming platforms, SoundTec. Check out my website, soundtecentertainment.com. And I'll say this, just take life, seriously, because you really only got one. And I'd say value it, but have fun along the way. Be yourself along the way. It's okay to not always get it right the first time. And as long as the effort is there and the passion is there and the authenticity is there, I think whatever's meant to be will.
Yeah. And I think we're all just actively learning each and every day. We're all just kind of students of life, which is something we always got to keep in mind. But man, thank you again for stopping by, catching up with me. And you already know I'm excited for all the new music. And I'm looking forward to hearing it, man. So thanks again for stopping by, and we'll have to get you back on here again. Maybe after the album comes out, we'll talk about the album for sure. So
that would be sick, man. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And I'll leave listeners with this on a few of the projects coming out, including my album. Keep an ear out, because there is some Anthony Church production on the project. So I'm really excited about that, and appreciate you lending your craft to me to further create with it. It's been really fun.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. And next time I got to make sure I don't misplace any beats. That was my bad. But we got it. We figured it out.
It's all good.
We figured it out. We worked through it. And yeah, man, thanks again for doing what you're doing, and looking forward to all the new stuff coming soon. So
Yeah, no, likewise, man. I appreciate the platform and hope you stay warm up there.
Just want to say thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to hit that coffee link in the description of this episode if you'd like to donate any funds. And we'll see you back here with another new episode next week. As always, thank you for your support.